All right, we are rolling. We are rolling with Alicia, Gettys Brasher, right? I know Alicia as Alicia Gettys, but she has recently gotten married, and it's been fantastic because Chris is now in my life, and he is an amazing human being. So thank you, Alicia, for bringing him into my life.
Anything I can do to make your life better, Charan.
Yeah, if you have to take one for the team, it's great. It's fine. No, but you guys, Alicia is so fantastic, and we met 2018, I believe, and
Super Bowl Sunday 2018.
Super Bowl Sunday? Was it Super Bowl Sunday 2018?
Super Bowl Sunday 2018.
Oh my gosh. In fact, it's hilarious. Alicia has a very vivid memory of how we met, so I'll go ahead and give the time to her to describe how that all went down.
So we were at church, and I saw Charan get up on stage, and he's hilarious.
Oh gosh, come on.
And so my friend Eileen leaned over to me and she said, I think you and that guy need to be friends. And she was a prophetess. I could agree with nothing more that I needed to be friends with you. Yeah. And so I don't know how it happened, but after that first hour after church was over, you and I met. I don't know if I walked over and said something about your talk, but I don't usually when I want to meet someone, I figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Well, funny thing, I don't even think you go to that congregation normally,
No, and neither did you.
I didn't either. I just happened to go there that one day, and if you remember back then, my hair was just like super big. I had like a big beard because I was doing Outpost, filming that TV show, so I had to look kind of medievally. And so, it was awesome. We met, and it was like this connection, this soul sister connection. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. And you've just been so awesome. And the thing I have loved about getting to know you is like you are such an inspirational woman. Like you've got all these think tanks going on the side. You have like these group of women that you get together with and like form like these really brilliant ideas and solutions to solve the world. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so intimidated by your presence. First, your physical beauty is ridiculous. And so that, it was hard to look at you without looking away and like gasp your air. So that was huge. And then just your ideas are just so brilliant. And you've been able to like inspire my mind and inspire tons of people's minds. And it's just been awesome. So I really am grateful that you have decided to come and engage with me on this Zoom call. And but I was thinking, because you're such a creative person, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the projects that you were working on before quarantine, and then delve into some of the things that you're working on during quarantine.
Right.
But let's go ahead and talk about the solutions platform idea that you were coming up with, because it was so awesome. So go ahead.
Thank you. So I get to work at a social impact center at Brigham Young University, and our whole purpose of existence is to help students figure out how to solve social problems. And I love that environment. So in contrast, rewind back to, I think it was 2012 when the Boston bombing happened. And I remember turning on the news, and I had to stop turning on the news. I could not handle seeing the worst of human capabilities affect some of the world's best of human capabilities. And so I stopped turning on the news, and then I felt very selfish that I got to work in a company where it was full of hope. It was students who hadn't fully fleshed out perfect ideas, but were on their road to creating some really incredible ideas. We have one student team who's creating a biodegradable plastic right now.
Oh, cool.
Neptune Plastics. And the hope I felt was very selfish, hearing some of the world's best solutions to social problems. And I felt a commitment that I wanted to help spread these solutions. So my partner, Zach Atherton, who's this brilliant comedian, we got together and created a web series called Solution Time.
I love it. Did you air these episodes, or where do they end up going? And
if you go to solutiontime.tv,
Mhm.
We have an episode on poverty, and we have an episode on veteran homelessness, and an episode on the environment.
So I guess what drives you? Like, what was your motivation to be like, this is who I want to be? I want to be someone that can help spread solutions to the world.
I don't know if it was that kind of intention. It was what brings me joy.
Okay, I love that. Yeah.
And and hopefully we can help other people feel more tranquility and peace and joy in their life
Yeah.
by being exposed to solutions, and hopefully they'll feel inspired to say, you know, so and so who's created that great solution, they seem like a pretty normal human, and I'm a pretty normal human, maybe I can do that too.
I love that because that's the thing. It's like you're helping people recognize, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like the power within themselves, the divinity within themselves to come up with like some really cool ideas to share with the world. I think a lot of times we discredit ourselves and like the abilities that we have within ourselves to provide more solutions and to empower people to just become better. And I mean, help humanity thrive in a sense, you know. And I know it's kind of crazy that, you know, we're all under quarantine, but despite us being in quarantine, I feel like I've seen some of the best in humanity come out, and there's just been so much compassion, and there's so much hope and love extended towards each other, well, from 6 feet away, but you know, uh, they're extending socially distanced love to each other and helping each other to grow, which is awesome. So you've been doing that web series, and then you also are involved with Tedx Byu. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I love Tedx Byu.
Okay.
I genuinely, I love TED Talks so much
Yeah.
that at one point my friend Dan Fife was like, wait, who's this guy Ted you're dating? Which was super awkward and accurate.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
judgment, you know.
My husband probably feels like I'm still dating Ted. Like almost every morning since we've been in quarantine, I'm like waking up listening to TED Talks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big bummer when COVID broke out.
Mm-hmm.
We had to put our 2020 event on pause.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the world's especially bummed because they missed out on Charan as our MC.
I know, you guys. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. It was crazy, right? Because just like days before we met, and we're like, all right, let's talk about the lineup and let's talk about like all the fun little jokes and bits that I was gonna like, you know, we're gonna talk about. And thank you, Alicia, by the way, for even thinking I could host such a great thing, and so I'm grateful for that.
Oh, it wasn't even just me. This was like a unanimous decision from the committee. We were just thrilled that you'd come and join us.
Well, you're too kind, but yes, I was very grateful to be asked to MC such a thing, and hopefully we'll do it again. You know, hopefully, you know, it's been postponed, not actually canceled, right? And so
right, that's the plan. We're still planning on doing it October 1st.
yeah. So that's that I'm still planning for it. You know, I've got I don't think a day in advance of where I'm at right now, but except for that event, I do have that scheduled in October. So so I appreciate that. But let's talk a little bit about how you got involved with that. Like, what was, because you didn't start it, correct? You came on board. Right?
The Ballard Center for Social Impact, they host the Tedx Byu event, and this was going to be our 10th event this year. It's going to be. Let's still talk about it like it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be the 10th event this year. Yeah.
And well, just knowing when the job opened at BYU, I was working in San Diego for the YMCA.
Okay.
And part of the reason I was drawn to working for the Ballard Center for Social Impact was that I would get to help put on Tedx Byu. So that's how I got involved. Was I applied for the right job.
Well, hey, you know what? Congrats, they picked the right person. That's for sure. Well, I'm so glad that you are a part of that, and I'm so grateful for the day that I get a chance to be part of that as well. You know, interestingly enough, one of the people that's going to be on this Zoom call, like not today, but a little bit later on, is Coco. She actually agreed to chat with me, so I'm excited to connect with her and talk to her about her life. So
I'm so excited for the world to get to know Coco better, and I'm very sad that we have to wait a couple months to hear her talk. It's very touching, very inspiring.
Yeah. So it's gonna be awesome. It's great. So already, Alicia, you've connected me with people that I haven't even met. So thank you. So thank you so much. Okay, so now we are in quarantine, as you know, and I can't think of someone that has more creative solutions to finding joy during this time than you. And we've already been chatting about like some of the fun things that you've been doing and ways that we can celebrate still and find joy despite the circumstances being what they are. So let's talk about some of those things because it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first off, let's talk about celebrations because
I think that's been, one of the things that people have grieved the most. I have students who didn't have their graduation. I have student employees who had to change their weddings. One of our student employees, she had this dream wedding planned in Hawaii. That wasn't happening. So her and her now husband went and had a barefoot wedding with a few close friends and family members in Lake Powell. I was really inspired by that. Chris, when I got married to him, he came with 3 bonus children that you can see behind me. And it was our 7-year-old son's birthday. And, it's kind of hard to explain why you can't go out and celebrate, he wanted to go do virtual reality or go to one of those trampoline gyms. And so we couldn't do that. So we did 2 things that I think were pretty unique. One of the things I love to do for the kids this year, we'll see how we celebrate next year, is I love to give them surprises. So for Cohen, he loves Pokemon, and if you can see on our screen here, Chris and we made a Charmander cornhole game, and if he could get the Pokemon ball into the cornhole, we would give him a surprise. One surprise for each of his birthdays. And so
did you paint that, by the way? Did you create all that stuff?
Yeah, Chris and I painted that. Yeah. And for each surprise, for each Pokemon that Cohen got into for each Pokemon he caught, right? So that's what you're saying. If you catch a Pokemon, he actually bought a Pokemon card, and then in the Pokemon was a little this comes in backwards, but it
it comes into me, Ryan. I can see right through you, or I can write. Yeah.
So his first surprise, this was the clue that said, "Hey, we can see right through you." Any guesses on what his surprise was?
Wait, I can see right through you. What is that, like an X-ray machine? I have no idea. No idea, no clue. I'm terrible at riddles on the spot.
He's not an aspiring doctor, so we didn't get him an X-ray machine.
Okay.
But he's like every other 7-year-old kid, and he loves Krispy Kreme donuts. So it was a clue to say, "Hey, we got you donuts for breakfast."
Yeah.
And then, so he had 7 of those. And then one of the clues was that he lights up our life, which is so true. If you meet this kid, he's just got the most charming smile, the best hugs. And so, so for that clue, we threw him I'll show you.
Okay.
We threw him a glow stick dance party. And
this is amazing. Yeah.
And this was a situation where we just invited, it wasn't just us, but we had friends and family join us from all over. We had friends on a houseboat in Lake Powell. We had family in Texas. If it shows it on here, Andy and Stacy joined us from Utah, and they didn't have glow sticks, but they have Christmas lights that they could dance. So we were just trying to think of ways, like how do we celebrate from a distance?
Yeah.
when it's so easy to feel so isolated. So that was one way. And any excuse.
What's super cool about this is like, this is so memorable. It's so memorable, you know, like they're not going to ever forget this. It's great. You know?
I hope not. I know I will. And selfishly, if it was just, if it just gave me some endorphins, you know, like
Yeah.
I took a lot of joy that night, and I hope the kids did too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Gosh, that's so awesome. I love that. So you've been celebrating like that, which is awesome. And then you've been talking about like a lot of fun creative projects as well.
Yeah. So I've got just the world's best friends, and we've been giving each other challenges.
Go on.
One of our challenge, I hope this is appropriate to say on your show, we had Titty Tuesday,
Oh gosh.
and it was No Bra Tuesday.
Yeah. I've been doing that for a while. It's been great. Fantastic. That's great. So you've been doing that. Yeah, I feel like I can relate, but I can relate the other. I wish you guys could relate with me the other 6 days as well, but it's great. So so that's been awesome. And then what other games have you guys been challenging each other to do?
So with my love for Tedx Byu, I did a TED Talk a couple years ago, but it was with my partner Zach, and I didn't feel like when I'm coaching TEDx speakers, I didn't feel like it was the full experience that a TEDx speaker goes through traditionally, where it's one speaker solo on stage.
Yeah.
So Andy Proctor, who's on the Tedx Byu board with us, he and I decided that we would challenge each other to write a TED Talk in 7 days. So that's one of the projects that we've been doing. Yeah. And it's been really exciting to wake up to. I feel like excitement is nature's best alarm clock. So that's been that I've loved.
Yeah. Did you make up that saying, nature?
No, I stole it from Andy. So thank you for asking that, because I was feeling kind of like, oh my gosh, I just stole that from Andy.
Well, you know what? That's great. I will still give you credit. No, we love Andy, and hopefully Andy can be on this Zoom call down the road as well, so the world can get to know him. But I love that. I think like the idea of just being able to like wake up excited and wake up joyous instead of facing dread is fantastic, and it's definitely something that we need nowadays. Here's something interesting. When filmmakers, you know, I'm a filmmaker, actor, filmmaker, and when filmmakers are given limitations, that's when some of the best work comes out, right? Mm-hmm. I was thinking about Steven Spielberg and some of his early works, like when he did Jaws. One of the best things that happened is when Jaws, the mechanical shark they were using, didn't work. There were a lot of problems with it, and a lot of things went down. And so he was forced to be very, very creative, using camera angles and like using different modes for creating suspense. And it actually made it a lot more effective, you know, and it was awesome. There's so many times, like in the world of film, I've seen where the limitations that we have forces us to be more creative and ends up telling a more compelling of a story. On the flip side, there have been those that have been given like just an insane budget to do whatever they want to do. If they want to blow stuff up, they can do this. If they want to take this many takes, they can do this. And you know what? In the end, the product actually kind of suffers. People aren't as connected for whatever reason, and you know, and it kind of sucks. So thinking like on those terms, I really believe that this time of quarantine, this time of limitation, when we're kind of like stuck in our houses, can be a huge blessing, not just in terms of greater compassion and love to other people, but also in terms of creativity and figuring out cool ideas to empower the world and help each other out. I think is awesome, you know?
I agree. In addition to the constraints, there's this quote from Alan Watts that talks about going out into the woods and really discovering yourself. And I love that I'm not in the woods and I get to take hot showers, because one thing I've discovered about myself is I love hot showers.
I do too.
But I've loved this time that I've had to really get to know what brings me joy, you
Mm,
know, and to work through the things that I've needed to work through.
yeah.
So besides the creative constraints on, okay, we can't, Colin, we can't celebrate you the way that we wanted to,
Mhm.
but maybe, like you said, this will be a birthday you never forget, you know, or we reevaluate how can we connect remotely. But then also just diving into the parts of us that have maybe missed some attention that we've needed to
Mm.
acknowledge.
A lot of introspection. I know I've done that. And it's been really interesting to go through the wilderness of my thoughts. Yep. And be like, oh my gosh, how long have I been believing that for? And how long has that been bringing me down, you know? And
Do you have an
it's been,
example?
what's that?
Do you have
Yeah,
an example?
I think like, here's the thing. I've always been a truth seeker.
Mm-hmm.
I love expanding my soul. I love learning new things, new ideas, everything. And I've
I
also
think
been,
that's why you're such a cherished friend of mine. Is
oh
I feel
gosh.
like soul friends in that way.
Yeah, well, I love learning and I love growing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of my learning and just studying about myself, I've always I've always just been a spiritual person. Like I've always loved learning things of a spiritual nature. And I think maybe part of that comes from my own Indian heritage, and Indians have been known to be like more spiritually minded people in like their worship and stuff. And I'm not just talking about like religion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a deep like meditative practice and stuff like that. So I have taken time to like meditate and to kind of like learn and grow and like ponder about myself and figure out like what makes me tick, what excites me, and all that stuff. And it's very interesting the things that I have discovered. Like first off, like there are all these ideas about like um, law of attraction and power and energy and vibration and like attracting big things into your life and creating the future you want to create. And I believe so much of this. I believe so much of this. And um, I also believe that above all of that stuff, the most important thing is unconditional love. I believe that having unconditional love and charity for yourself and
Yes.
unconditional love and charity for others is
Yes.
like the highest way of being. And
Mm-hmm.
that if you had all this ability and this power to create all these things and manifest these things and raising your vibrations or aligning your chakras or opening up your third eye or all this stuff that I've like researched, if you have the ability to do all that but you don't have that unconditional love and that peace and joy for yourself or for other people, it doesn't matter at all. And it's been
Can
a
I add
really,
two things to that?
yeah, please.
I think a lot about the dire importance it is to be compassionate to ourselves. Right now, if you're saying, "Hey, this is hard," you're not wrong. You know.
Sure, yeah.
And but two other things, because I think compassion alone for ourselves um, is part of a three-piece puzzle to finding joy. And I think that one critical thing is that taking time to find gratitude
Mhm.
around us adds to the level of hope and joy that we feel. And so does finding confidence, you know, finding confidence. May we find confidence to help fight our fears. And I feel with that trifecta, it just of compassion, confidence, and gratitude, that we're able to more joyfully approach this difficult life that we encounter.
Yeah. And what I've found as well, like having that type of joy
Mm-hmm.
um, immediately gets me present. It just automatically gets me present. But it's not, people talk about, hey, live in the present moment, and all this stuff. But I almost feel like the present moment is just a byproduct. It's like the way you just naturally will live when you have that joy and compassion inside of you. Like, I find that like this unconditional love that you have, if you can have it for yourself and if you can have it for others, but it starts with having it for yourself. And like the way I approach it might be different than the way other people approach it, but I have really come to know for myself that God loves me. And that's a very important truth, like to accept that for myself. And that, again, people have different experiences and beliefs about God, and they're totally not just okay, but yes, please have whatever thoughts you want to have, right? But for me, I have this innate knowing and belief that God loves me, and just that alone lets me love myself. It's just like this crazy thing. I'm able to love myself freely, and if I can kind of
So
meditate on
Karen, what
myself.
would you say then to people who, let's say you're talking to an audience that believes in God,
Yeah.
but maybe they don't feel worthy of love,
Mm.
or they don't feel they don't feel like they have access to feelings God's love.
Yeah.
Like, how would you help those, and or what would you recommend to those people who are seeking to find compassion
Well,
in their life?
you know what's interesting. I can only talk about my journey, right? I can only give experience of what I did, because the truth of it is like everyone's experience is so different than everyone else's, and it's not like like my buddy Lee, who I was talking to yesterday, was like this. It's not like a copy and paste type of situation, right? It's not like what I did will work for you or whatever. It's just this is what I did, and hopefully, hopefully it works for you as well.
But
Uh,
don't you find sometimes when you feel stuck, like when I feel stuck on
yeah,
how to find something, I'll go talk to friends that I admire.
sure.
And you're right, maybe that copy and paste won't work, but I do trust and believe and have confidence that solutions are out there. And often it's through connecting with friends that I find those solutions. So that's why I ask, because I
Yeah,
get so interested in finding what works for people. And a lot of times it ends up working for me too.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think like one of the big things is like sometimes we just have to get out of our heads, right? And so there's like the whole thing of like, hey, serve others, don't think about yourself, and as you do that, compassion will grow. Kind of like a I don't know, like, yeah, you just forget yourself and go out into the world and help another human being who may be suffering a little bit more than you, or like count your blessings and things. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you specifically what I did, uh,
Mhm.
because I grew up extremely shy, and I grew up extremely insecure, and I hated myself. I felt like I was a product of a lot of the things that happened in my childhood, right? And my parents were arranged in marriage. They knew each other for maybe an hour before they got married, and so they didn't it wasn't like a marriage born out of love. And so when you live in a household where it's not like your parents, and my parents are amazing people. Don't get me wrong, they're great people, and I love them so very much. But when you grow up in a household when it's not like your parents are like, hey, I love you. They're not like affectionate towards each other and stuff, and they're not affectionate towards me. It wasn't like we would get hugs and stuff all the time. So I grew up in a household where that wasn't a thing, but I was okay with that. But then I remember going to my friend's house, and it was like I was on an episode of Full House. That's the only way I can describe it. There was just so much
Were
love.
you TJ or Michelle?
I was actually the dog,
Okay.
just observing. What's the dog's name? I forgot. Uh, but yeah, I was. I would like to think I was Uncle Jesse, but I didn't have as cool of hair.
But can we look at your hair right now? It is remarkable.
You like it? Oh, thanks.
I love your hair.
Thank you.
So let's pick. I vote Uncle Jesse.
Okay, Uncle Jesse. I was Uncle Jesse, the cool guy. But anyway, it was just such a tender, authentic love that I would feel amongst like the siblings and the parents. And I remember thinking I wanted that. And I was like, are they faking it? Like, is this like a joke? Because I've never seen anything like this before. So I would try going over to their house on days when I knew they didn't expect me coming over to see if I could catch them in their lie, to be like, there's no way, there's no way. And keep in mind, this wasn't when I was a kid. This was when I was a senior in high school. Okay. Like I was like 17 when I was doing these type of things because I could not believe that this would exist. But sure enough, I would go over and they'd still be just joyously laughing. And I'm not saying that their lives were perfect. No one's life is perfect, but yet there was something there that I loved. So, through the process of it all, I kind of came to know my own faith and God and all that stuff. But again, it was like, well, how do you connect with that? And how do you let believe that he loves you or whatever you want to believe? Because whatever, like if you go to a church or if you have like any type of like religious belief or anything, one of the things that they teach from the Bible or from whatever books you believe, Bhagavad Gita from India, whatever it is, there's saying of like, hey, God loves you. But it's like, well, how do you internalize that? How do you what does that mean? So I kind of just spent a lot of time for myself being still, in nature. I found that I was doing a lot of that and just like trying to stop my thoughts just enough to listen. I found myself lying on my bed, closing my eyes and meditating. And when I say meditating, I would imagine myself being in like this beautiful field and just like being still. And the more still I was, and the more I like focused on my breath and things like that, I could feel this tender energy moving in through me, and all of a sudden I found myself just wrapped in this joy, in this glow that was like, I was like, wait, am I forcing this? Am I artificially making this up? But the more I did it, the more it just kind of kept coming at me. And so I started visualizing, and I would like visualize Jesus, because that's who I believe is who I connect with. And I imagined that Jesus was there, and like I would just feel so much love come and emanate in me. And then what's interesting is I used to look in the mirror and just hated what I saw back looking at me. I hated the image. And I would like, I hated looking myself in the mirror. I'd like quickly walk past the mirrors because I could not look at myself in the eye. But when I started feeling this love come over me and stuff, I looked in the mirror and I loved what I saw looking back at me. And it wasn't this selfish like, oh, I'm the man, or I'm cool or whatever. It's just like I just had like this very tender love for the person looking back at me. And the more that love filled, it was like I could not help but love other people. I just couldn't do it. I just, it was like everything I saw, like my perspectives changed. And I think that's what it was, is like me as an experiencer of life changed, and things just felt more rich. Things felt more joyous. um, I just gained an appreciation of things. And I know people are like, wow, you have such a positive attitude and stuff, but it wasn't like I was trying to have a positive attitude. It was just like, this is just my being, this is just who I am. And but I had to spend a lot of time just being still. And unfortunately, when you're being still, the first things you might get are your own worst critic, your inner demons, saying like, oh, you're horrible, you're this, you're that. But like, if you can kind of like get to a point where you realize, wait a minute, I'm not those thoughts, because I'm observing those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm something other than those thoughts. I'm not those emotions because I'm observing those emotions. And when you stop identifying with yourself as those negative thoughts, and you stop identifying yourself as those negative emotions, you're like, wait a minute, there is something inside of me that's observing all these things. And the way I can observe the sun, the way I can observe the grass, I can observe my own thoughts. When you realize I'm not my thoughts, and you let go of that definition that you created for yourself, suddenly even those negative thoughts kind of like disappear. And
Yeah.
you realize
Or
that,
if they don't disappear, I feel like sometimes for me, I
yeah,
don't even recognize all those negative thoughts that
yeah,
are happening. And so even just the process of recognizing them,
mm-hmm,
acknowledging them, sometimes, I mean, that's been part of my process this this break is recognizing those negative thoughts
Yeah.
and doing something more healthy with them.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I think you're saying like once you recognize, it's almost like
You can recognize, oh, that's not true.
that's
You
not
know,
true. Exactly. I mean,
it's not a truth, or you can say that is very true, and I need to do something with it other than just keeping it in.
so here is something very interesting I've studied and learned about a little bit of. I don't know, I know very, very little about quantum theory, you know, the science of quantum theory, but like one of the things that they said is that in the quantum level, in in that such a microscopic universe, that type of level, things behave very interestingly. And they say that electrons and things that move, they kind of move at random until you observe them. And just your act of observing puts them in some sort of order. So it's like, geez, like just our observing something gives it a sense of power.
Yeah.
So I try to like observe those thoughts and stuff, but then I acknowledge, okay, like that's what those thoughts are saying. And if I internalize it and say like, oh, that's me, then I know that I'll feel horrible, you know? So anyway, I don't know. I could go even more with this type of stuff, but I love it. Like just figuring out those internal things and letting things go is an awesome way to go.
Yeah. One hack that I've
So,
found this break.
oh wait, shoot. Alicia, are you still there? This is the first time this has ever happened. Oh, you like disconnected for a second.
Here, can you see me?
Now I can. That was weird. I've never had it happen before. This is crazy.
So so one hack that I've experienced during this break, I came through a book called Nonviolent Communication,
Okay.
and I I love this book. Like if you watch Mr. Rogers and you're inspired with how he communicates with other people so empathetically,
Yes.
this is the book that helps you figure out how he does that. You know,
Okay.
it's not written by him. It's not even promoted by him. I don't even know if it was written while he was alive, but when I watch Mr. Rogers and I watch how he interacts with people, I feel like it's this book in practice.
Mm.
The one thing I never learned from, or I didn't feel like I've seen from his most recent movie portrayals, is how he expresses his frustration. You know, in the Tom Hanks movie where Tom Hanks portrayed him, it seemed like he took on the burdens of the world instead of expressing the burdens that he was feeling. And that's the other part of this book, is how you express the burdens that you're feeling in
Mm.
a non-violent, non-confrontational way.
Yeah.
And you know, I do think, you know, as we've learned about vulnerability for the past 15 years or so, since Brene Brown has made that a viral concept,
Yeah.
part of vulnerability is the ability to recognize and express those emotions. And the tension that's been released from my body when I've, like you said, organized and recognized those thoughts and then have been able to share them has been truly a game changer for bringing more peace into my life.
Mm. Oh man, I love that. Like, so I don't know. I heard this one definition of trust that's always stuck with me, and it's like I think from like a Scandinavian root, and it means to be comfortable while you're vulnerable. That's what trust means, you know, and
I love that.
to truly trust someone, you have to be comfortable while you're completely vulnerable around them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in order for that to happen, you have to be comfortable being vulnerable with yourself,
Yeah.
and you have to be able to trust yourself. And these are the things, you know. I tell people, I say, hey, imagine that in your heart there's a well, and whatever is inside that well, you will share with the world, and that's what you also get back in return. So it's super important to um, go and explore what is inside your well, and see, hey, is it filled with like insecurity and worry and darkness and stuff? Because no matter how much you try masking it and putting out like a really positive front, if you have those things in your well, that is still going to come out. And so, yeah, these are deep topics, Alicia. I could go on for hours. This is amazing.
I feel like Can I share with you that Alan Watts quote?
Yeah, please. Let's do it.
What I love about what you shared with me is, I feel like it's this quote in action.
Okay.
So it's this: you have to get away from all the madness for a while because we become insane. We get confused with our roles as being who we really are. Man is not his role. Man is something deeper than that. So go into the forest or someplace alone in nature all by yourself and find out who you really are. And when no one else, and when you no longer confuse yourself with your particular temporary body, but identify with the process of nature and the whole cosmos, when death comes, what a funny thing that will happen. Death comes and we'll find no one to kill.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Can you privately send that to me? That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can share this in the notes.
Yeah. In the post. Yeah. That would be amazing. Yes. In the Facebook post below or whatever. That's awesome. Well, Alicia, I literally could talk to you for so many hours. But I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and discuss these amazing ideas. And hopefully people will get something out of them. But I think more than anything, the idea is, hey, find some time, go in nature, and learn who you are. I think that's a good message.
Enjoy a dance party when you're done.
And enjoy a dance party when you're done, but make sure it's through Zoom, so you're social distance away. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Alicia, for joining me, and I'm sure we will chat with you soon, okay?
I look forward to it. Great to
take care. Bye.
Inspirational morning, Sharon.
Yes, thank you. Take care. Bye.
Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.